842,000 views. That's how many people watched my sister-in-law Amber hold her phone up at Easter brunch and say, "Okay, so this is my husband's sister, Diane. She's been wearing the same jacket for 3 years. I know because I have receipts." She panned the camera down to my shoes. Target clearance, everyone. Our family's walking, breathing, budget fashion moment. The comments wrote themselves. Girl, does she not own a mirror? Someone get her a Nordstrom gift card. She looks like she's about to ask us if we found Jesus. My nephew Connor pinned one to the top of the comment section. Family embarrassment hits different when it shows up to Easter. I watched it 4 times, not because it hurt, because I was thinking. My name is Diane Calloway. I'm 38 years old. I drive a 9-year-old Subaru Outback with a cracked passenger side mirror. I keep meaning to fix. I shop at TJ Maxx and occasionally at a small boutique in Tribeca when I want something that will actually last. I don't have a public social media presence. I don't wear things that announce themselves when I walk into a room. I have a very clean, very boring apartment in a mid-rise building in a part of town that doesn't impress anyone at dinner parties. What I do have is a 14% stake in a logistics software company I co-founded 11 years ago, which sold to a larger firm for $45 million. My portion came to just over $18 million after taxes. I also have a real estate portfolio in 3 states, a private investment account I've been growing quietly for a decade, and enough liquidity to make most people's heads spin if they saw the number. But my family doesn't know any of that. To them, I'm just Diane, Kevin's quiet sister, the one who never married. The one who does something in finance but clearly not very successfully, because look at her shoes, look at her car, look at the way she brought a supermarket pie to Thanksgiving for the 4th year in a row, instead of ordering from the bakery on 5th, like Amber always does, making sure everyone sees the logo on the box. I let them believe it. I had been letting them believe it for years, because when my brother Kevin married Amber 9 years ago, I understood immediately what I was dealing with. Amber was a person who kept score. She measured affection in price tags. She sorted people into categories based on zip codes and handbag brands, and she had been slowly, methodically teaching my nephew Connor to see the world the same way. I watched it happen Easter by Easter, Christmas by Christmas, and I made a decision very early on. I would still help Connor. Not because the situation was fair, not because Amber deserved anything from me, but because Connor was Kevin's son. And Kevin was my brother, and I remembered the person Kevin was, before Amber taught him that silence was the same thing as agreement. I had set up a trust fund for Connor the year he was born. I put money in every year through a private foundation that didn't list my name anywhere in its public filings. By the time Connor turned 15, the account had grown to just over $800,000. I kept contributing. Compound interest did the rest. On the morning of his 18th birthday, 3 weeks from the day Amber posted that Easter video, the trust would be worth approximately $1.2 million. But I am not someone who does things halfway. The trust had conditions, very specific ones, written by my attorney Margaret Holt, who has been with me since the company was still operating out of a converted garage in New Jersey. Margaret is precise, methodical, and allergic to sentimentality. She had drafted the character clause herself, and I had approved every word. The beneficiary must demonstrate, through consistent conduct, a standard of character that reflects integrity, empathy, and basic human decency toward others. Any public behavior determined by the trustee to be materially inconsistent with these values, including but not limited to public mockery, deliberate humiliation, or conduct designed to demean individuals based on their perceived social or economic standing, may result in partial or complete forfeiture of the trust assets, at the trustee's sole discretion. Margaret had also been on Instagram for 2 years because her daughter set it up for her, and she had developed, somewhat against her will, a genuine interest in following home renovation accounts, and what she called family drama content. She called me the Monday after Easter. I was on my 2nd cup of coffee. "Diane," she said, "no greeting." Margaret never wastes time on greetings. I assume you've seen the video. I have. And the follow-up she posted yesterday, the one where she ranks her in-laws by, quote, life achievement. I hadn't seen that one yet. Where did I land? She gave you a participation trophy emoji and wrote, "And then there's Diane. Bless her heart." I set my coffee down. "What's your read on it, Margaret?" The original post has 800,000 views, and she's actively engaging with comments mocking you. The follow-up is gaining traction. Your nephew commented on the original post calling you a family embarrassment and has not removed it. He subsequently posted his own story, sharing the follow-up video with 3 laughing emojis. She paused. He's 18 in 22 days. I know. The character clause covers public conduct. This is documented, ongoing, and he is actively participating rather than being a passive bystander. It's a straightforward determination. Another pause. If you want me to invoke the forfeiture provision, I need your authorization in writing. The funds would redirect to the secondary designation. I had named the secondary beneficiary when I first set up the trust, a scholarship fund for first-generation college students at state universities. I had set it up hoping it would remain an unused backup. I sat with that for a moment. Send me the paperwork, I said. I signed it that afternoon. The forfeiture was official before dinner. Connor had no idea. He was turning 18 in 3 weeks, and Amber had been planning the party for 4 months. I knew this because she had included me on a group text that I suspect she added me to by accident, and I had been quietly reading every update without responding. She had rented a private event space at a waterfront venue downtown. There was going to be a live DJ, a custom sneaker station where guests could design their own shoes, and a ceiling installation made entirely of white orchids. The guest list was 160 people. The theme, as far as I could tell from the inspiration board she shared in the group text, was elevated streetwear meets black tie. Amber had also arranged for a local lifestyle blogger with 200,000 followers to cover the event. The piece de resistance, the thing Amber had been building toward for weeks in her messages, was the trust fund presentation. She had turned it into a ceremony. She had spoken to Margaret's office, confirmed the date, arranged for Margaret to arrive at a specific time in the evening, right after dinner, and had coordinated with the DJ to lower the music for the announcement. She wanted it filmed. She had asked the lifestyle blogger to make sure it was captured from multiple angles. Amber had told everyone it was going to be a significant amount. She had used the phrase generational wealth moment in the group text without any apparent irony. I arrived wearing a simple navy dress I had owned for 6 years and flat shoes. My hair was down. I was not wearing jewelry. Amber met me at the entrance with the particular smile she reserved for people she had already categorized as unimportant. Diane, you made it. She air-kissed somewhere near my cheek. I wasn't sure if you'd come, honestly. These kinds of events can be a lot. I wouldn't miss it, I said. The venue was exactly what I had expected. Beautiful, expensive, and slightly exhausting. Connor was holding court near the sneaker station wearing a designer outfit that probably cost more than my car payment. He had his mother's talent for working a room, moving from group to group, with the easy confidence of someone who had always been told he was the most interesting person present. He spotted me across the room and gave me a half wave. Not unfriendly, but the kind of acknowledgement you give someone you don't particularly need anything from. I waved back. The dinner was good. The speeches were long. Amber's mother talked for 11 minutes. Kevin teared up and said Connor was his greatest accomplishment in a way that was genuinely sweet and made me remember why I had set up the trust in the first place. I drank my water and waited. At 9:45, the music faded. Amber took the microphone, glowing in a dress that had definitely been custom-made, and gestured for Connor to join her at the center of the room. The lifestyle blogger moved into position. Phones came up across the space. Tonight, Amber said, her voice carrying perfectly across the room, is not just about celebrating 18 years of the most incredible young man I've ever known. She reached up and cupped Connor's face in her hands, and he rolled his eyes affectionately, and the crowd laughed. Tonight, we also get to witness something truly special. When Connor was born, someone in this family set up a trust fund for him. We've known about it for years, but the details were kept private until tonight. She paused for dramatic effect. The trustee is here, and she's about to change my son's life. Connor whooped. People cheered. A few people near me started clapping before anything had even happened yet. Margaret walked from the side of the room to the center. She was wearing her standard gray blazer. She was holding a leather portfolio. She did not acknowledge the applause. Connor Whitfield, she began, her voice flat and precise. I am Margaret Holt, trustee of the Calloway Family Educational Trust, established on the date of your birth for the purpose of providing financial support upon your 18th birthday. Connor was grinning. Amber was gripping Kevin's arm with both hands. The lifestyle blogger was maybe 6 feet away. Lens pointed directly at the family. The current value of the trust, Margaret said, is $1,214,000. The room erupted. Amber burst into tears. Kevin covered his mouth. Connor let out a sound that wasn't quite a word. Several people near the front started screaming. Phones were up everywhere. The lifestyle blogger was practically vibrating. Then Margaret said, however, one word. The room didn't go quiet immediately. It took a few seconds for the sound to die down. The way a wave doesn't stop at the shore, but keeps washing back in smaller and smaller pulls until it's gone. Connor's grin was still on his face, but something behind his eyes had shifted. Pursuant to Section 7 of the Trust Agreement, which establishes behavioral conditions for disbursement, the trust has been subject to a forfeiture review initiated 22 days ago. Connor's smile dropped. On April 20th of this year, your mother posted a video to Instagram publicly mocking and humiliating a family member at a private family gathering. The video received over 800,000 views and remains active. You personally commented on that video using language that publicly identified the individual as, and I am quoting directly, a family embarrassment. Margaret's voice did not change in pitch or tempo at any point. You subsequently shared a follow-up video created by your mother, adding commentary of your own, and that content remains posted on your account. The individual being mocked in both videos is the person who established and has solely funded your trust since the day you were born. The silence was total. Not the excited silence of before, but the stunned kind, the kind where you can hear the ice settle in glasses and the ventilation system above the ceiling tiles. Amber said, very quietly, "What?" Margaret turned and looked at me. Every person in the room followed her gaze. Connor looked. Kevin looked. The lifestyle blogger looked. 160 people and their phones all turned in my direction. Diane Calloway, Margaret said, is the sole contributor to this trust. Every dollar in that account, every year of investment returns, the entire $1.2 million, came from her. Kevin made a sound I had never heard him make before, something between a question and an exhale. Amber stepped forward, and I could see the exact moment her expression moved from shock to denial. That's not possible. Diane doesn't, she can't. She drives a Subaru, someone near the back said, not cruelly, just reflexively. A few people winced. Margaret continued as though no one had spoken. As trustee, I have determined that Connor's conduct constitutes a material breach of the character clause. The trust has been dissolved, effective 22 days ago. The assets have been redirected in full to the secondary beneficiary, the Open Doors Scholarship Fund, which provides college funding to first-generation students at public universities in the Northeast. Connor's face was the color of the white orchids above our heads. No, he said. It wasn't loud. It was the voice of someone who has just realized a door they thought was always going to be there has been bricked over. No, no. Aunt Diane. He looked at me. I was just messing around. Mom posts stuff like that all the time. I didn't think you'd actually please. I walked toward him slowly. People moved without being asked. The lifestyle blogger stepped to the side. I stopped a few feet away, close enough to speak without performing. You called me the family embarrassment, Connor. You put it in writing and left it there for 3 weeks. You let 800,000 strangers read it and agree with you, and you never once thought to take it down or question whether it was the right thing to do. His eyes were wet. He was 18 years old, and it showed. I'm sorry. I'll delete everything tonight. I'll post an apology. I'll do whatever you want. Aunt Diane, please. That money was supposed to be for college. I know, I said. That's why I set it up. Because I wanted you to have options that had nothing to do with what your parents could afford. I wanted you to be able to go wherever you were smart enough to go, without owing anyone anything. I looked at him steadily. But options come with responsibility. And the first responsibility is knowing how to treat people when there's nothing in it for you. Amber grabbed my arm. Her grip was tight and her voice had shifted from shock into something harder, a kind of furious certainty. You had no right. That money was for his future. He's 18 years old. You're going to blow up his entire life over an Instagram comment. I turned to look at her. I took her hand off my arm carefully and set it back at her side. I'm not blowing up his life, Amber. He has his life. He has 2 parents, a roof, every advantage you've been able to give him. What he doesn't have anymore is money that came from me. I paused. Which, if we're being precise, is also where the seed funding for your boutique came from. The room went very still again, in a different way. Amber blinked. What are you talking about? 3 years ago, you applied for a small business grant through a nonprofit development fund. You received $80,000 to launch your store. That nonprofit is funded almost entirely by my private foundation. I didn't arrange it for you specifically. You applied, you were evaluated, and you were approved on the merits. But the money came from the same place the trust fund came from. I kept my voice even. I say that not to take anything away from what you've built. You've worked hard. But when you ranked me at the bottom of this family, when you filmed me and let 800,000 people laugh at my shoes, you were performing for an audience that included the person who quietly made more of your life possible than you knew. Kevin was standing absolutely still near the far wall. He had the look of a man trying to do too much math at once. I turned toward him. There was a part of this that was harder than Amber, harder than Connor, because Kevin was not a cruel person. He was a person who had learned to go along, to smooth things over, to let silence function as neutrality. I had watched him do it for 9 years. Kevin. He met my eyes. Diane, I didn't know.